Let it ride. Just let it ride. Welcome in, everybody. It's your afternoon hump day Betspresso. Good to see you. Cough, the Boost Man, V, Luch, BTP. We're all with you, the four of us, and of course you, the chat, for the next hour. Pleased to be with you across the Betting News Network. Wherever you are finding us, we thank you. Tell your friends, hop on in, be part of the program, because we are going to talk baseball. We're going to talk WNBA, soccer, NFL training camp news. You've got, boy, what else? I mean, obviously there's the Travelers Championship, golf, if anyone has anything, that begins tomorrow morning. We've got NBA Cup schedules are out, as well as the start of the season, the Christmas Day slate going head-to-head with the NFL. There'll be plenty to do on your December 25th. There's a lot in front of us, boys. How the hell are you?
Feeling good, boys. Feeling good. Like you said, we got golf starting tomorrow. Thankfully, we got Luch on the show today. We got Leagues Cup. Thankfully, we got BTP. Lots of training camp and BTP. You can't just say, I love the lid. And I said it in the studio, but I got to say it live too, because I mean, hey.
I won't be on the show tomorrow, so I had to wear it today.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. How you boys doing?
There you go.
Doing
Great,
good, man.
I haven't done a show in a couple weeks. Took a little vacation. It's good to be back with you guys.
Yeah, I know you can see that 10, huh?
I know that glow you got right now, brother.
Absolutely glowing.
You know what, though? I'm at that age where you just kind of worry about your arms and your face, and I'm not, messing around with all the I'm not a young man anymore. I don't need to get the full body tan walking around, shirts up. Like, I'm just living in rash guards. So I've got the farmer's tan to the extreme right now. So you're just seeing the good stuff.
I mean, that's the moneymaker right there, right?
That's right.
That's the moneymaker. Yeah. Luch, how you doing?
Not enough.
I'm good. Yeah, who cares what you look like? As long as you walk around knowing that you know ball more than the next guy, that's all that matters at this point of the season. Preseason football is here. There's a ton of shit going on. A lot of news, a lot of drama, injuries out the wazoo as far as the NFL goes. We'll jump to some of that later. And, of course, we'll get to some of those dubs and L's at the end of the show. Everyone's favorite, and I don't know. I can't remember if you mentioned it, but I won't spoil who we're going to dive into. Oh, it's on the screen. We got the New York Football Jets. Look at me being observant. So that might be a quick one, boys. Might be a quick one.
Yeah,
L. That's going to sound like. Get excited, everybody. Now, we got a half dozen preseason games tomorrow in the NFL, just to start there for a hot second. I know there'll be plenty of programming across the network before that rolls around, so people can give out whatever plays they have, including my Patriots there. And I mean, Drake May's not playing. I don't care. I watch maybe 6 seconds of that game at most. I barely even remember that it's happening. Do you guys tend to invest and find your edges in preseason football, like all the superstar sharks, the whales out there will tell you need to do if you're not limited to pennies?
Not a chance.
No.
I love the NFL. I love the NBA, and every single season, I can't wait till it comes back. But the preseason just doesn't do it for me. Was it during the Hall of Fame game? So turns to me and he asks me, he's like, is football really back? And I'm like, no, but yes. You know what I mean? Like, no, but yes, it's back. And I'm not going to be betting it, but I know a lot of people that will be. And what about you boys down there? You guys going to be betting anything in the preseason? I'll probably put a little bit.
I just like to observe. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much because you don't know how long players are going to play. You don't know how serious coaches are going to take it. I mean, I've there are other coaches that do take the preseason more serious than the next, but yeah, no, it's just kind of it's nice to get back in the groove of things and see the players out there.
That being said,
can we approach Harbaugh the same way? Remember the Baltimore Ravens under Harbaugh was like an automatic, like never lost, covering machines, all that stuff. Now that he's the Giants head coach and the Ravens don't have him anymore, I don't know how to approach either of those teams.
That being said, there was just so much turnover with offensive coordinators and the head coaching carousel in this league. There might be some more interest in watching the first quarters of this preseason than maybe in previous years. The Titans and the Niners, a big one for me. Shout out to SPJ. But Robert Saleh already said that the Titan starters are going to play a little bit here, and rightfully so. They got brand new scheme both sides of the football, and there's a lot of teams are in that same boat. So kind of excited to see what they look like. I've just been seeing Carnell Tate aura pumping through the Twitter timeline. I hope he's the real deal, but the first real test under the lights on the road. It'll be fun to see what Carnell Tate and company are doing. But yeah, kind of a nice slate as far as preseason goes. But it feels good to see some real action, like the Hall of Fame game. I watched a little bit of the first drive or two, and then I got really busy. Didn't shut the TV off. Fortunate to sit down literally in the last 2 plays of the game. So the ending was really cool to see Haynes King at the buzzer across the pylon. So, it's been exciting a little bit, moving the needle a little bit so far, a little bit.
I think that's an interesting point you bring up, Luch, because I think it was a maybe in the modern era, a high of all time in terms of new head coaches hired, right? I think it was 10 or 11 vacancies that they had across the league, right? Some of the guys that haven't even been talked about a lot, like Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, I feel are kind of under the radar with some of these big names. And then there's a couple of coaches that are in the second year of, brand new contracts or brand new teams. A guy like Ben Johnson, right? A guy like Liam Cohen, I do think are going to be in a precarious spot where you want to perform, you want to kind of live up to the expectations that you set for yourself and your team last season, and it remains to be seen, right? We've seen with the Bears, a lot of guys are out the door. With the Jaguars, maybe not so much outside of in the backfield, but I do think that's an interesting point here, just the head coaches and everything that's going to be going on in the preseason here, because a lot of them are first-time head coaches, a lot of first-time offensive coordinators too.
Yeah, and there was, amongst headline camp battles, starting positions up for grabs, one was already settled in Minnesota before, any of the real action even started. Kyler Murray, that thing's over, which I thought was interesting because there were some beat writers kind of, scoring the battle, and it didn't sound like McCarthy was too far behind some of them, but it seems like the plug has been pulled already on the 9 era in Minnesota, and my guess is he's probably not going to be thrilled about that. Adam Schefter was very pro McCarthy, Michigan, in his announcement about that situation on Twitter, which I thought was funny, but
to go to the bench, what are we talking about? That was kind of weird.
When they brought Kyler Murray in, I never had a doubt that this was inevitable. It was just so logical. Whether it was too soon or not, apparently they saw enough last year, enough noise to make Kyler Murray the QB1. And how does that make you guys feel about him supporting Justin Jefferson, or Justin Jefferson going as a tail end round 1 pick in fantasy drafts this summer? Do we feel better or worse that Kyler Murray is in charge of Minnesota right now?
I mean, I'm not big on Murray. I've said that past couple of shows. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Murray. I don't think he moves the needle that much for this Minnesota team. I mean, McCarthy wasn't great. I mean, I think they did win 6 out of 10 games that he started last season. So, I mean, he got wins, but, he wasn't anything special when you watched him actually play. I don't know. For me, this doesn't do much. I just think Kyler's, he'll have his moments when he's running, and, he's breaking outside, and he's still got the speed and the legs. But, I don't know. Is there a new Call of Duty dropping soon that he's going to be distracted by or something? He doesn't do it for me.
It's kind of insane to me that J.J. McCarthy just hasn't shown any progression, right? Like, we know that KOC is a kind of quarterback whisperer. We've seen what he did with Sam Darnold, what he did with Kirk Cousins, and kind of how he got the best out of both of those players. We did not see that with J.J. McCarthy whatsoever, and I just think it kind of speaks to how bad he's maybe been. I don't think that Kyler Murray, K1 is not a QB1 in my eyes at all. I don't think that if you can't see over the line of scrimmage, it's going to be tough. Not only when you're making a pass, when you're being when big bodies are coming at you, but in a situation where pre-snap reads are so important, being able to read the defense and see what they're doing pre-snap, so you kind of know what are you going to have available, what guys are going to come open, and exactly where they're going to come open. Sometimes, everybody likes to make that comparison with Kyler Murray, and sometimes it just looks like a toddler that's running around that you can't catch, right? And sometimes that's not the guy you want throwing the football. I just don't know if Minnesota's going to be any good with either one of those guys at QB. I think either JJ is going to want to move on, or they're going to have to move on maybe with a guy like Baker Mayfield or somebody else that comes available next year, maybe not this year, or maybe through the draft. We'll see.
Do you think that the quarterback room is going to be shot now? I mean, we saw how McCarthy was when they were doing the battle, and how he pretty much was like, this is my job, or whatever he said in that press conference prior to practice that raised everyone's eyebrows, like, okay, him and Murray just aren't going to get along in this quarterback room. But now that Murray's a starter, how is JJ going to react? How is the quarterback room going to react? Is Kyler going to be any sort of mentor towards JJ, or is it just going to absolutely, now his confidence is just absolutely shot? And, the only way of return for JJ McCarthy to have any sort of success is maybe finding a new home?
It fell over as soon as they kind of brought Kyler in. What do you think, Adam? Like, what are you thinking of the situation here in Minnesota?
This was completely inevitable. The second Kyler Murray signed with Minnesota after being paid $30+ million
to
go away by Arizona. This was absolutely going to happen. JJ McCarthy knew this was going to happen. Look, I would be naive, even though I believe it. I would still be naive to just declare it's over, it's done for JJ McCarthy. Now, I don't really think that he's got a future in Minnesota, obviously. I don't really know how you could, obviously, when they bring in Kyler Murray to replace him, which is exactly what they did. And they've made the declaration even before preseason games have started. So this decision has been made for a while now, and they are just eliminating any sort of confusion going into the practice games, if you will. But we've seen, you mentioned Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold's come up, Daniel Jones, another guy. Like, there are guys that have blossomed elsewhere with a different coach, teammates, scheme, fit, change of scenery, what have you. It's possible JJ McCarthy is an NFL starting quarterback somewhere else. I mean, he was taken, even though I think he was overdrafted, he was taken 10th overall in the draft. Now, I come at this with a lot of bias. When JJ McCarthy was at Michigan, I said, this guy's going to be a crappy pro. I mean, I know he's a national champion, but that was the run game. That was the Harbaugh defense. It wasn't JJ McCarthy running the show there at quarterback that got Michigan to the promised land. So I never expected him to be particularly good in the pros to begin with. And obviously the rookie year was a lost year. He didn't play. He was injured. But what we saw last year, and again, there were multiple injuries as well, but he still did play 10 games. Sure, 6-4, as you mentioned, but it was very up and down. It was, he had a good birthday game in his NFL debut. And then other than that, everything pretty much went to hell. I don't think we've seen anything. Certainly the Vikings haven't seen anything to be encouraged by JJ McCarthy. But, I guess going back to the original question of what does this mean for Justin Jefferson? There are a couple of things that I go back to. One, one of you guys said, like, I don't know if JJ goes away, obviously referring to JJ McCarthy. Justin Jefferson, to me, like, this move was made for Jefferson in large part. Now, is Kyler Murray the answer as far as getting Jefferson back to where he was a couple of years ago and throughout most of his career and inflating the stats again, just get him the damn ball, all that stuff? Maybe. We'll see. I mean, he had a questionable rapport with Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. Only played 5 games last year before the injury, and ultimately Jacoby Brissett stole that job away from him, finished out the year, got himself paid here in the offseason after the little hold in, hold out, whatever the hell it was. But you needed to do something to appease Jefferson. Your biggest goal, if you're Minnesota right now, yeah, you'd love to make the playoffs. You'd love to be competitive. You'd love to be interesting. You'd love to have a quarterback that can, carry the offense better than what we saw last year and take it back to what they did with Sam Darnold. But really what you need to do, first and foremost, number one with a bullet on the priority list, is not alienate Justin Jefferson and have this guy requesting a trade. He's under contract through 2028. You don't want him getting feisty and upset and angry and asking out. And I think with JJ McCarthy, that to me was inevitable. Kyler Murray, you got a chance. We'll see if Kyler Murray can develop a rapport with Jefferson, keep him happy, get him the ball, maybe get some wins and go from there. But the Vikings, look, they finished strong. They won their last 5, I think it was last year, to go 9-8. I don't think that's going to happen again. They're probably around 500. They're in that same general vicinity, 7-9 wins if everything breaks right. I don't think they're a playoff team or anything like that. But I just think Minnesota kind of did what it had to do. Kyler Murray on his $1.5 million or whatever he's making from Minnesota is a stopgap, kind of bridge option. And then it's either back into the draft or you're bringing in a guy. It depends how this year goes. But Jefferson's your piece. That's the guy you're building around.
Yeah, I have one more thought here for at least fantasy football purposes. Mm-hmm. We've seen Kyler support wide receiver ones. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins when he was in his prime, future Hall of Famer. I know. We've seen him. This is an ugly one, but Hollywood Brown through 12 games in 2022, he had 107 targets through 12 games, 2023, 101 targets through 14 games. He will pepper Jefferson. I think if I'm a stockholder in Jefferson or looking at drafting him this month, I'm thrilled with this. And Kyler might not be a winner in real life on the field, but his ability to scramble, I think he's kind of a value later in drafts right now. He's going to give you a relatively high floor, picking up 50, 60 yards a game on the ground right off the rip. And, they have some talent there at wide receiver. So again, I'm with you guys. I'm not super optimistic about Minnesota collectively, although it is a tough place to play, of course, as you Packers fans know over here. But for fantasy football, I think it's a dub for Jefferson and even for Kyler Murray right now where he's being drafted.
And lastly, to Adam's point, this could just be a thing where he's been given a directive, feed JJ the ball, because if we want to keep him around, we want to keep him as our franchise player, that's what we want him to do. Maybe that's why they brought him in, because like you just listed, Luch, he's got multiple examples where he will just pepper his number one guy with targets. And what else do you really want? Addison's also going to be suspended for the first few weeks. I mean, like a 1,700, 1,800 yard season for JJ might just keep him in purple a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, I think this is a big year for just Justin Jefferson. If you want to talk about fantasy, I think he needs to, for his own self, because he wants to pad the stats. He wants to win some games. He wants to get to the playoffs. Obviously, like any other player, wants to get to the bowl. I think he has to be fed the ball here, and Adam nailed it perfectly. I mean, this is a big year for Jefferson because I feel like if it doesn't happen and Minnesota struggles again, I would not be surprised if we're hearing, demanding trades in the offseason and things like that.
Yep.
Stifler, our buddy in the chat, Jeff, says Vikings should trade Jettas, get a ton of picks back, rebuild. It's better than wasting the rest of Jefferson's career. And that's obviously the flip side to everything that I said about you don't want this guy asking out and having to trade him. I disagree. I would not. Justin Jefferson's 27 years old. He is when healthy, and he's generally a durable guy, only 10 games a couple of years back, but generally he is a durable guy. He will give you, with a capable quarterback, which obviously J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer, whoever the hell else was throwing the ball last year, he didn't have anything capable around him. With a capable quarterback, which Kyler Murray, if he's even healthy, I do think can be, Jefferson is a floor 1,400-yard guy and up to 1,700 yards, and he's still in his prime years, even in terms of football. So I don't think this dude is, nearing the end. It'd be a different conversation if, like, he's 29, another couple of years down the road, and you're like, all right, well, we can get multiple firsts for this guy. We're not going anywhere. The Vikings only a couple of years ago, were threatening to win the NFC. And then last year, take a dramatic step back, obviously, but they still finished over 500 with that hot start at the or hot finish. So I'm not quitting on the collective. You got some pieces there in Minnesota that if things do break right, and you could feel however you want to feel about whether they will, but if things do break right, you've still got some talent there. I don't think you quit on Jefferson, even if it means stockpiling picks right now.
Totally agree with pretty much everything you said. And part of the reason that Minnesota was at least competitive for the better part of the last decade is because they invested in their offensive line organically through the draft, brought in a couple of key free agents, but the offensive line was so good for so long. And I think that's why someone like Jordan Mason is really appealing this year as well. It feels like Jefferson's been around so much longer than that. That's probably because of how damn good he really is. And I think the key is, Brian Flores, with the way he plays defense and, what's his story, he loves to send pressure, blitz. I think Minnesota has kind of a wide range of outcomes. I mean, the more you blitz, the more, like the splash plays are going to happen for better or for worse for that defense. And that could dictate a win or two. And I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota was hovering around 500 somehow later in the year. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but it wouldn't totally surprise me. Right. So,
real quick though, Luch, you brought the guy up. I mean, I don't know how the hell this turned into a Viking season preview show, but here we are. Jordan Mason's the RB1 on this team. Like it may not be that way week one, we'll see, but I think within a few weeks, within a month and a half, whatever it is, sometime in the first half of the year, he is going to outplay and ultimately take the job away from Aaron Jones, and then Jones is out there as the supplemental back, right? Like I'm not reading this wrong. I mean, this is the direction that we're heading. Mason, when given an opportunity, has proven to be a legitimate RB1, not a stud, don't get me wrong, but obviously he has some stud outlier performances. He's certainly a guy that can handle the rock and be your bell cow, your focal point if you let him. And then Jones, he's on the wrong side of 30 and he's dealt with injuries for multiple years.
I completely agree. What about Luch? What are you thinking?
Very good for a very long time. I know I'm speaking to the Packers fans here that saw him in his prime. He turns 32 in December, I believe, and totally agree. Mason, beneficiary of a great scheme in San Francisco, but his advanced metrics last year were really good too. One of the best backs in the league in yards after contact for attempts. So the guy is just a freaking bulldozer when he's right. The offensive line's pretty good. I think Kyler with the little RPO-ish kind of keep the defense on his heels, depending on what they install with him, is only going to help him a little bit more trying to get to that second level. So, yeah, welcome to the Minnesota Vikings show. I know there's a lot of NFL news to get to, so it's up to you guys if you want to bounce around a little bit, Adam. But I'm with you. I think Mason is another – I think Kyler in this offense just gives everybody just a slight bump in terms of, floor for fantasy football this year.
Absolutely.
Well, let's in the spirit. I know we want to get to some NFL or some NBA and some other things, but in staying for a moment with the NFL and just some of the little news and notes to come out of training camp. One thing that caught my eye earlier today, and I've been hyping up this dude, like just banging the drum for weeks, if not months. I am excited, and so we're going to see Jonathan Brooks, Carolina, getting an opportunity here in the preseason for the first time in his young career. Why the first time? Because injuries. He has torn his ACL multiple times, but finally he's healthy. He's right. He's barely played across his first couple of NFL seasons. And, we know just based on history, hell, look at last year, that Chuba Hubbard, while he is a functional running back, Dave Canales, the head coach in Carolina, does not view him as the RB1. A couple of years ago, he had a very good season. What'd they do? No, they didn't hand him the ball. They went out and signed Rico Dowdle and made Rico Dowdle the RB1 last year. And now he's gone. And so it's Hubbard again. In theory, I think it's going to be Brooks. I think if Brooks is as explosive, as powerful as people expect him to be based on what he did in college, this dude could be, one, a real steal in your season-long drafts, your best ball drafts, what have you. But in terms of just your, weekend-to-weekend viewing pleasure and watching on Red Zone, whatever else, I don't know that Carolina's going to be a hot watch. We'll see. But I do think Brooks is going to be fun.
Could be a repeat of what we saw last year with Rico and Hubbard, right? I mean, Hubbard starts the season, Rico takes over, runs away with the starting job pretty much, and I could see a repeat of that this year with Brooks.
I'd say that's the reason that they also just let Rico walk, right? Because obviously at times last year we saw Rico look like the better back, but Chuba has the bigger contract, right? He's on the longer contract, so it makes sense to keep him. But if you think you have Jonathan Brooks waiting in the wings to take over as the future of this team's, like that in backfield, I do think that this is a great spot for him to kind of make that move. We know that in year one, no matter if a guy is healthy or not, nobody wants to give him a huge workload. So like you said, Adam, we haven't seen much from this guy, and he's been around an NFL team for a long time now. And if he is as good and as smart that he was touted in college, he should be ready to hit the gap as soon as he gets the ball this season.
I'm with you guys. I do think that this will be a split to some degree, like maybe 50-50, I think, but he's so explosive. I think he's awesome for best ball because you're going to see, just with the workload split and Chuba's not going anywhere. You're going to see some splash plays. So I think he's like a perfect candidate to draft in your best ball drafts. His ADP has definitely gone up over the last month or so. So if you're I would buy in soon if you're ready to buy. And you made a good point, V. In college, he only had one season with 100-plus carries. He had 21 carries as a freshman, 30 as a sophomore, and then 187 those were both his freshman years. So yeah, he had one season with 100-plus carries. So yeah, I mean, we need to see this guy healthy. I think that's Carolina's number one priority long-term for Jonathan Brooks, and he can help in spurts in the short term. I know Chuba is not sexy. He's not explosive, but he's durable. He can run between the tackles. I think they're a really fun committee, as you said, Adam. It's going to be a blast in Carolina. Only going to help out the Panthers, how quickly the public forgets that they were just a play or two from knocking off the Rams. One of the most exciting games from the playoffs last year.
Staying in that lousy division, how about the news? Kevin Stefanski, this is not shocking. In fact, it was expected. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the preseason opening quarterback for Atlanta. Now, obviously, speaking of guys paid to go away, I mean, the amount of dead cap the Miami Dolphins have endured because of Tua and just deciding, nope, we can't do this anymore. We got to move on. Can't depend on him. And even when he does play, he's not what we're looking for. Tua ends up in Atlanta, where obviously he's got Bijan Robinson, who's, among the favorites to win Offensive Player of the Year. You've got Kyle Pitts, maybe, just maybe, this under Stefanski is an offense capable of unlocking him. Obviously, Drake London is exceptional. You've got some pieces there in a functional Atlanta offense in what is a very winnable division. I'm not going to say a lousy division because I think teams could be competitive, but a very winnable division where, most people want to say, sure, it should be the Bucs. Emeka Egbuka got banged up today. We'll see. But you've got the Bucs, you've got the Saints, who are a lot of people expecting more out of, this Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck tandem in year 2. Obviously, you can feel however you want to feel about Bryce Young in Carolina. We just talked about Brooks, and now Atlanta with Tua and maybe at points Michael Penix Jr. It's a giant wild card. I don't know what to expect from this division, but I do feel like of all these quote-unquote QB battles, we knew it was going to be Kyler in Minnesota. We don't necessarily know what it's going to be in Cleveland. I feel like Tua leans a little closer to Minnesota of the, this feels inevitable. Doesn't it, V?
It kind of feels like that, but honestly, I feel we haven't seen a lot of Penix, right? Whereas we did see a lot of bad from JJ McCarthy. Penix, maybe there's a little bit more unknown. I do think, though, that if Stefanski is kind of deeming that this situation and he's leaning more towards Tua, I got to trust that because nothing what I saw from Penix kind of stood out to me. I thought it was an insane pick for Atlanta to make in the first place when they did draft him there, I think as everybody did. And then we thought maybe they were cooking, maybe they knew what they were doing, and obviously it just hasn't looked that way, right? Then they paid Kirk Cousins. I don't know what's going on in ATL in that division. I think the Saints are getting a ton of hype. Maybe that's not founded in anything outside of a few good games from Shuck. Yes, he looked good, and yes, the offense looked a lot better. But it's still the Saints. The defense hasn't made any progression. I don't see why they would this year. In terms of the Bucs in that division, Baker's playing on a 1-year deal. I don't think anybody in that locker room wants Todd Bowles to be the head coach anymore outside of ownership because they're not willing to pay somebody else. This just all feels like an incredibly weird situation where maybe Carolina comes out the winner at 9-8, or maybe even 8-9 like last season. But the division in general, it's super weird to me. I don't love the same situation. I loved what I saw from Shuck, but I don't know if I can extrapolate that and think that applies to a 17-game season. And I don't love what's going on in ATL. The QB situation is bad. If you're getting paid $40 million to go away, and then another team's like, wait, that's the guy we want? I mean, that's a fucking red flag to me, both Tua and Kyler. And I think it only speaks to how bad JJ and Penix have been. If these are the guys you are losing your job to. So I hate everything about it. Stefanski, maybe you can fix something, but ATL just doesn't look like they're going to look like they did last year. And obviously, QB play was the big question mark. They had a great wide receiver, a great running back. The defense was also elite for most of the year. I just don't see it this year. It feels like a big fall off coming in ATL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not
in
chat, by the way, dumping on V for dumping on the Bucs without stuff here. Says you're a coward.
I mean, we saw spurts of Tua showing signs of life and having, a lively arm and, playing good football. I just think the injuries and concussions were just so gruesome that, it set him back and he never really got into the player that maybe we thought he could be. I still want to see more of Penix. I'd like to see what he's made of, what he's capable of. I don't think we've seen him enough. I don't think he's been given the opportunity. Atlanta's got some good weapons on the offense. So, if Tua can't succeed, I think you just got to put Penix in there and see what you got with the kid.
I'm 1,000% with BTP here, not because I'm a Penix truther, just with the way everything laid out. V, you said it. It seemed like a crazy pick with that type of draft stock that the organization took, a team that seemed pretty close on paper to like having paths to win multiple playoff games, to take a quarterback. Maybe he didn't get a fair shake. Maybe we need longer of a sample size. Played 9 games last year, had a 9-3 TD to INT ratio, not lighting the world on fire. Not terrible, but when your front office is, puts that kind of capital into making an extremely bold pick in the lottery, 8th overall, they're going to put pressure on the coaching staff to see it through. A brand new coaching staff, might we all add again and reemphasize, with Kevin Stefanski and company. So if Tua is not up to snuff, as they say, and they're not very good, I think we see Penix by week 8, week 9. They need to see what they have in him. They brought Penix in and invested some crazy draft equity into the future. And if you're just going to throw the future away already, what's the point? I mean, Tua is not the long-term solution. He is the definition of what a bridge should be right now. You have some young playmakers still, like you guys were talking about, in Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts finally had a really good season. I can't see the Tua thing, lasting 18 weeks. The one thing I will say, I'm just not thrilled with the staff that Stefanski put together. I know he won Coach of the Year with Cleveland. I think he could coach, but multiple times. But like, not great things happen when you keep your friends around all the time. Tommy Rees for OC is such an underwhelming hire. And then you have guys like Craig Aukerman, one of the worst special teams coordinators in football, and of course, Bill Callahan coming from Tennessee, who was supposed to be the O-line god. They were so much worse with Bill Callahan, the Titans offensive line, in the first half of last season. I know SPJ is somewhere agreeing with me and nodding his head. I don't like the staff at all in Atlanta. I think that might be the bigger problem. We'll see. A lot of moving parts here, but when it comes to who wins the NFC South, you guys pretty much nailed it. I think it's a total coin flip. My gut says it'll be between the Saints and the Bucs. But then again, the Panthers, as I was just kind of banging the table on, came within a play or two from knocking off the Rams last year, who are this year's NFL favorites. So who's to say who's going to win this division? Adam, gun ahead. Who wins this division? Let me hear your thoughts on this one. Let me hear a hot take.
I will say the Bucs, only because, again, I think obviously what happened with Ibuka today, just minor. I think he projects to be just fine for not only week 1, the preseason for that matter. I think that's just all precautionary. We'll see where Chris Godwin looks at this stage, but you've got a decent enough run game. I like Bucky Irving. Really, I think above all else, though, guys, I'm investing personally in the bet on me, prove it year for Baker Mayfield. I like a Baker Mayfield with a hair across his ass. That's a dude that tends to go out and play very well. Honestly, I mean, that's a guy that tends to go out, play well, earn it. He is feisty. He finds a way. I mean, how many times, not so much last year, but the year before, did we see that? Basically the Bucs 2 years ago were a kind of like the Bears light off of what we saw last year. All that, you could never count them out, fourth quarter comebacks, all that. You can go relive it on Quarterback on Netflix if you want to watch. My kids have been binging that. He's fun. He's just a fun dude. And ultimately, I don't think there'd be any disagreement in that the quarterback is the most important position on the field. And if I'm looking at that division, unless Shuck is about to take a huge jump, and I don't see it. Maybe I'll be wrong. Obviously, he was pretty good as a rookie after he took over there for Rattler. But I think the best quarterback in that division is still pretty handedly Baker Mayfield. And so, I think the Bucs ultimately are going to win that division. Doesn't mean they're going to run away. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but I do think it's going to be Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Just before we move on and talk a little bit more, like even a little bit basketball, what do you guys think about them coming out in Cleveland, Monken saying that it's going to be either Deshaun or Shedeur? Obviously, we kind of knew that, but I think some people are kind of leaning one way or the other. But it feels like a true coin flip between the two of them. Deshaun's been really bad, throwing a ton of interceptions, but I don't think Shedeur has looked fantastic or blown anybody away. What have you guys seen? What are you guys thinking?
I don't have a take, really. To be honest with you, I could care less.
I do not have a take on this one. Oh,
I could care less. I could care less about what the Cleveland Browns are doing at quarterback.
Well, listen, if the take is who cares, that's fine, because that's how everybody outside of Cleveland in the NFL circles feel. Because this isn't a team that's going anywhere. But Fam was in the chat asking for a Browns preview, so here you go, pal. But I look, the team's not going to be good. Obviously, we know that. But I think it's as simple as this. Let's just pretend. Let's live in the world of make-believe where these guys are on the same contract. And as we know, that's not remotely the case. The dude that they have invested in, and I'm sure they would love to undo it, but it is what it is Deshaun Watson. And then the injuries and all of the off-field stuff with the massages and everything like that, obviously they find themselves living in the draft. They've already decided, poor Dylan Gabriel, it's not him. And so, okay, is it Shedeur? Are there any just inklings, any little the little highlights that we saw of his time in Colorado playing for Dad there that led people to believe for a hot second this guy could be the number 1 overall pick in the draft and certainly a first rounder before he ends up plummeting to the 5th round or whatever it is. If this dude can play, you have to find out. So at some point, I would think we're going to see Shedeur Sanders this year, because otherwise, without a doubt, they're back in the draft looking for a quarterback in 2027. But I don't think it's right away. I don't think it's week 1. And the reason I feel that way, guys, is very simply, if healthy, and I don't know, we'll see if Deshaun is, but let's just play the game. If healthy, which guy has the higher ceiling? Which guy has the higher floor? Both cases, it's Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders. Without a doubt, if you have any chance of having a functional offense, at least on paper entering the year, you have to believe, as the Cleveland Browns coaching staff, that it's Deshaun Watson giving you that best chance. And I don't think it's a great chance, but it's still a better chance than what we saw out of Shedeur.
I mean, I feel like if you can get half of what you got when Watson was in his prime, if you get half of that, I feel like that's just, that's a steal right there in itself.
The problem is everything we've seen hasn't even been a quarter of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the interceptions in camp, obviously it's just training camp, but if you're throwing almost double-digit interceptions and you're less than 10 days into training camp, that might be an issue. I don't know. Luch, you have some thoughts?
No, you guys pretty much nailed it. It's just a pretty shitty situation overall for the Browns organization. I think they ripped the Band-Aid off by getting rid of Myles Garrett. Jared Verse, very young player. I love the draft equity that they got in return in that deal too. They know they're not close. I don't think Monken is the long-term answer. I wouldn't be shocked if he was gone by this time next year. He's 60 years old. Nobody wanted the Browns job. It just seems like this is his last chance to be a head coach. And if it goes poorly, he probably will not be a head coach again. So I just think it's a lose-lose for the Monken situation and the Monken truthers, but if there are any. But I just think this organization needs a full-blown reset at the same time. I think getting rid of Garrett and trading him at his peak was the right move. So you go in next year, you suck this year. It's a great draft class for quarterbacks. Once they know where they're picking in the draft, you might get a really young offensive mind like a Liam Cohen, not saying him, but someone like him. So you know what? I know where you're picking. I know who you want. I could take this guy and I can move this franchise. So I think the transition is starting with Myles Garrett. And as much as we want to say, or I want to say Tua is a bridge quarterback, I think Todd Monken is a bridge head coach. I kind of felt the same way with Dan Quinn. I didn't expect that hire in Washington a couple of years ago. And who knows what's going to happen this season? Of course, some of the big news this week was losing Lerme Tunsil for, I think, the season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just a massive blow for a quarterback who has sustained numerous injuries already the first couple of years. So I just think the youth movement on the head coaching carousel, whether it works out or not, it doesn't always work out. It fought for Brian Callahan. It worked for Ben Johnson so far. It's working for a couple other guys, Liam Cohen. I just think it's just the Browns are stuck for another year at least in this shitty mode where it's just, let's get to the end of the year and cross the finish line and see what happens.
Kind of like a Pete Carroll, Gerard Mayo, or OJ Mayo kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like what we just saw with those two teams and two teams that are now doing, or expected to, at least with the Raiders. But look at the Pats. Just went to the Super Bowl.
Look, sometimes the worst of first happens, man. I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to be that team. Yeah. All right, we've got about 20 minutes. That's a good amount of NFL. Not that we can ever have enough NFL, but that's a good amount of NFL considering all the other things that we want to get to. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but it obviously was a story very early on in the day and will continue to be a talking point around the league. The fact that the Lakers have been sold again. 1 year after being sold by the Buss family, the Lakers have been sold again. And this time, not the $10 billion that they retrieved or fetched the last time around. How about $12.5 billion? That's a pretty good 1 year return on your investment. Bought by Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Iger, by the way, the former, I think, CEO over at Disney, who is married to Willow Bay. Fun fact. And if anyone is around my age and remembers Willow Bay, hosting Inside the NBA with Ahmad Rashad. What a glow up that is, from hosting Inside the NBA to owning the Los Angeles Lakers. That's a pretty good deal right there. But I mean, look, you've had Luka, going out and tweeting about his excitement and talking about the new owners. I don't know what the situation was exactly without diving too deep into it, that Mark Walter decided to get out from his investment and make a healthy profit on the way out the door, obviously. But it is interesting, just the continued sort of instability of one of the marquee franchises in the NBA.
Yeah, this feels like a situation. Well, we know that Mark Walters, obviously, he's under investigation and everything like that going on. Feels like maybe it has something to do with that. We'll see what to come out. But I mean, 1 year you sell one of the a premier franchise in all of sports, the Los Angeles Lakers, right? One of the most marketable names in all of the world, not even just sports.
Sure.
But $2 billion in a year. I don't think that this will be happening had the other stuff not also been going on. But I mean, new ownership, we'll see where this goes now. But I think Jeannie Buss is going to be out pretty much now, right, Adam? Because I think she was supposed to be.
I know she was supposed to be sort of working in tandem with Walter. I don't know if she's out altogether. Certainly kind of feels that way, but I haven't seen anything declarative on that yet.
Yeah. Any thoughts, boys?
Nah, I mean, nothing you guys haven't already covered. Just the state of the Lakers, instability was a great word. And, if you would have told me a year and a half ago that LeBron would be gone, not only gone, but to the 76ers, and Luka Doncic would be a Laker, and there's been so much reshuffling at the high end of the organization. For many years, the Lakers were the stability of the league, right? They were the highest power, and the things have flipped on their heads. I think they're 50-1 to win the title this year. So just strange. I think strange is my favorite word for the state of the Lakers. And well, how do we feel about LeBron and Bronny, father, son, Christmas Day? Just the memes are relentlessly hilarious.
Yeah, we'll see if Bronny is actually still on the roster at that point in time. But it's a good Christmas Day reunion for those two. I gotta say, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time really thinking about or caring about NBA schedule release or anything like that. I will say, and I'll sort of maybe speak for V a little bit here, the two Celtics fans that are hanging out with you guys, that and again, I don't care in that, like, I'm not losing sleep over this, but just to mention it, I'm a little surprised that, one, the Celtics are opening the season at 3 p.m. Eastern on a Tuesday against the Pistons. Like, I don't know what the NBA is even doing, having a game in that time slot. We don't need to see Celtics Pistons on opening day, let alone in the middle of the workday at 3 in the afternoon. It would be just fine to open up with the Portuguese fans.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, what is the point, truly? But then on top of that, I thought, like, we got Celtics Pistons to open up the season, literally open up the NBA season, because they are that first game. And then the Celtics will play on Christmas Day against the Heat. So it's and there's obviously the narrative there. Giannis was trying to decide between Boston and Miami. It two teams that are playoff hopefuls. I don't know about Miami. I certainly believe the Celtics will be a playoff team. Miami's roster is thin after their top two, as we have discussed here. But I thought, just because the NBA loves its drama, I thought that we were going to get Celtics and Sixers, one of those two dates. And I really kind of thought it would be opening night, given the fact that the Sixers came back from down 3-1 to knock off the Celtics in round one of the playoffs last year. Jaylen Brown, obviously, a career Celtic for a decade, gets traded in the offseason, controversially, as we know, to Philadelphia. Paul George goes the other way. The LeBron factor, he's been a rival, a thorn in the Celtics side for his entire career. So I thought that was going to be the matchup that we were going to see. That does not mean that Philadelphia and New York is a bad or lesser than matchup. I certainly understand why the NBA chose to have LeBron at Madison Square Garden against the defending champs on opening night. I just kind of thought
banner night.
Yeah, banner night. Well. But I just kind of thought maybe we would get Celtics Sixers, one of those key dates. Instead, I don't know. It's, as a friend of mine said to me, it sort of speaks to the league not really caring about the Jaylen Brown, revenge against the Celtics narrative that a lot of people want to get all bent out of shape over.
I think you're right about that. I think that they don't want as much of that narrative. Celtics didn't get a Christmas Day game last year, as we know, with no Jason Tatum. That was kind of unfortunate. I thought that was wild too, especially because the roster was still talented. But I don't know. There's something that is deeply inside me happy that the Sixers have to be there to watch the Knicks raise that banner. But like outside of that, I would have loved to see some opening night fireworks between the two Jays going head to head, kind of how we've seen in the All-Star game. Luch, what do you think?
I keep thinking about Miami during this conversation. I think obviously LeBron's decision shocked a lot of people and most of the basketball world too. I don't love how Miami's roster is shaped up right now. I know about 2 months ago we were talking about how LeBron would fit on that team and it seemed like a really good fit. And V, I know you and Sook were pretty high on how that would come together. But man, they could really use a guy like Norman Powell right now on that team. I mean, there's a reason that they're 40-1 and Boston's 14-1. I think, Sixers fan here, I think Boston will be a very good basketball team here. I would not be surprised if Boston somehow beat the 76ers in 7 games of a playoff series. Do I think it's going to happen personally? No, but I'm higher than most people on the fit for LeBron. But, Vegas knows. And I think Miami is – boy, I wonder if Giannis is still thrilled about his decision. I want to know. I want a full documentary. I want a 30 for 30 on the behind closed doors conversations that all these teams were having and what they really thought was going to happen, because I just think there's a handful of teams that are much better than Miami in this Eastern Conference right now. So I think Boston will take care of Miami on national TV on that one. I think it's going to be a big year for Tatum, and they spent a lot of money bolstering the center position, but a lot of pressure riding on your boy Peyton Pritchard, obviously. One of my favorite college players ever, though. I absolutely loved watching him play at Oregon. But I don't think Boston is done. I think they'll add another piece or two. I don't know what the financial situation looks like, but I just think they're gonna, maybe make a move before the trade deadline or bolster a little bit of depth there as well. What are your thoughts, V? Are they done, or do you think there's maybe a little wiggle room to bring someone else in?
I mean, Drew was brought in right before media day started and all that kind of, started to commence that year. They won the championship. I think anything is right now on the table. The Steph Curry conversations obviously are interesting, but I think insanely hypothetical. Probably not going to happen. But the PG contract is right there if you do want to move it for a big-time star, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that was moved. He's also an expiring deal, right? Sometimes that's exactly what a team wants. That's on a little bit of a different trajectory, right? A team that's looking to next summer, whereas the Celtics are looking towards the next 2 to 3 years. I just think that the biggest commitment the Celtics made was to not having 70% of their salary going out to 2 players, and that is going to cease to happen once PG's contract comes off the books. I just don't know who's available that moves the needle for the Celtics right now. I do like the PG move. Maybe it's coping. Maybe it's whatever it is. I think taking a guy who shot 40% on wide open threes last season is exactly what the Celtics need. And maybe the Celtics are what PG needed in terms of no pressure, in terms of open shots, and just being able to defend and play at a high level. So I'm excited. I think both teams are going to be good next season. I think each and every one of those games is going to be competitive. I mean, we got 2 preseason games going head-to-head against the Sixers, so that's going to be fun, right? Like, we don't have to wait till the regular season to see these guys on the court. We'll definitely see them in that first preseason game, I'm sure.
I will add this, though, about Mike Gansey. Not afraid to whip it out, if you will, and make a splash move, whether it's going to work or not. I mean, I did the James Harden trade with the Darius Garland swap. I mean, I'll say this: the guy swings for the fences, and he got some serious movement done with the Philadelphia 76ers in like 30 days. So we'll see if it works. I think Daryl Morey aspired to be half the GM in terms of making splash signings as Mike Gansey is in this day and age. I'm sure Daryl has quite the FOMO after he was able to reel in Jaylen Brown and LeBron James. So I guess that's my last question. I know, in terms of hoops, and there's plenty of other things to talk about, is Daryl Morey done in the basketball world? Was that it for him, you guys think?
Should be. Yeah, should be. Adam?
Yeah, I'm just looking. What's he doing now? Is he just, free agent basically?
I think
He's
so.
tweeting.
Right now.
He was on Twitter. He's tweeting.
He's tweeting.
Not consulting anywhere or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, it could be. But I don't think so. Ultimately, I mean, he's still a young guy. He's still, in his early mid 50s. Even though it feels like he's been around forever and obviously multiple franchises, he's got a lot of years left of work in that body if someone wants to hire him. So yeah, I don't think he's done. I think he's still got a good reputation around the league as a dude. Like, I think he's still well liked, if I'm not mistaken. So I think someone will take a chance on him, but obviously he has struggled to build winners. He's built teams that have been competitive, that have gone on runs, but they haven't gotten over the hump. That's for damn sure.
All right, boys. It's a lot of hoops talk, a lot of football talk. We do have some sports on today.
Yeah, man.
Should we skip forward to the bets a little bit? I can hand out a couple of baseball real quick and we can get into the League's Cup, BTP, and then maybe finish off with a little WNBA and a parlay before we start with the Jets. But yeah, I got two hitters today, two guys that have kind of been smashing the ball, but it hasn't been leaving the ballpark. First one's in that Yankees game, Luch BTP. You're going to like this one because he's the newest one to wear pinstripes, Mr. Luis Garcia Jr. at plus 375. I don't know if you guys saw last night, but I did bet his home run, and this guy hit one right to the fence. I think he hit one right after that, too, that just kind of caught the wind at the wrong angle and ended up a fly ball rather than outside the ballpark. But tonight, I'm going right back at plus 375. Winds are blowing out, and you have Bryce Miller on the mound for his Miller time on the mound for the Mariners. He hasn't been good away from Seattle, and that's exactly why I'm targeting this. He's given up 2 home runs per 9 on the road this season. And the last time he was here at Yankee Stadium, he gave up 3. So, yeah, give me Luis Garcia Jr., a hard-hitting lefty, a guy that's been crushing, forcing fastballs, something we see Miller go too often. And I just think this is the perfect spot for him to do it in the perfect ballpark with winds blowing out towards the outfield. And I got one more. This one's a little bit more chalkier. It's in the late game. But it's the other team on the other coast, and it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani. It feels like forever since this guy's hit a home run, but the guy's been actually barreling the shit out of the ball over the last 5 games. Last night, once again, it just looked like the ball was flying. I don't know if it was a dead ball, what you want to call it, but in that game with the Royals, it just looked like every single time one of the Dodgers made contact with the baseball, it was kind of flying, but then just coming up short. Tonight feels like a good spot with winds blowing out towards the outfield. We know the conditions here at Dodger Stadium are always fantastic. And you got a bullpen game for the Mariners, right? Not for the Mariners, for the who are they going up against tonight? Sorry. The Royals. A really, really bad bullpen for the Royals here on the road, on the West Coast, late night game. This just feels like the perfect spot for Ohtani and maybe a couple other Dodgers to get one over the fence. But at plus 280, the cold streak he's been on, I could not take this line here. So give me Shohei Ohtani, give me Luis Garcia Jr., give me them in a little 2-teamer, and let's just ride off in the sunset, hopefully with a winner.
I'm playing both of them. I like it.
Beauty.
There you go. I'm playing both of them.
Beauty. That's all I want to hear. But BTP, you want to take us to the League's Cup? What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, so I gave out an article today. 2 plays. I'll make this quick since we're short on time. I'm going with Orlando -1 on the spread. It's not the same as -1.5, so make sure you check your books. It's -1. If Orlando just, pulls out a result, wins by 1, it's a push. Orlando been playing well. They're at home again. They've had all 3 of their Leagues Cup games now at home. They are playing a Mexican side who has struggled all season, has not won a game all season, already eliminated from the Leagues Cup. Orlando need a win and need to score 3+ goals tonight in order to have any shot of advancing past this phase 1. So give me Orlando at home to run up the score, win by multiple goals. -1, it was close to even money. It was -105. And then I'm going to another Monty over. Monterey in Nashville, taking on Nashville SC. I love this Monterey side, just loaded with talent, a lot of MLS talent. So they're familiar with this Nashville team. I got the over 2.75 at -120. Nashville finally looked like the team that we saw before the World Cup. Put up a big win. Obviously, they played a weaker opponent. But scored 4 goals. I feel like the factor there was Espinoza back in the lineup. I mean, the guy comes back, scores 2 goals, just changed the whole dynamic of their attack, was all over the pitch. He's a playmaker, creator, gets the ball into space, and it showed. And I think Nashville just really missed him. And I don't think we realized how much they needed him until, the struggles that they've had in attack and things like that. So give me the over there. Both teams need a win. A tie does not help either side. So I expect a very open back and forth match in this one. And that's really it as far as the lines I saw. Just remember for Miami games, Messi's still not playing. Suarez is suspended with some – Miami actually suspended them for some in-house verbal abuse of staff members and things like that. So he is not going to be playing. Obviously Messi's out. Bertomeu still hurt. So their attack is very limited. Actually was leaning Leon plus 0.25 if you're trying to feel a little friskier, want some action in that game. It's at even money. Leon just need a push or a draw to advance into the past phase 1 here. And then I like Toluca to take care of Dallas at home as like a little parlay piece. If anyone's looking for a parlay piece, it's in Mexico, the high altitude. Toluca thrives at home. They should be able to take care of business against Dallas. Then some late night games. You got LAFC hosting. They're at home. I think they've already. Let me think here. Okay, so LAFC do need a win. Their line's kind of juiced. So another parlay piece. And that's really it. I mean, those are the games I was kind of eyeing tonight. I got the 2 plays I gave in the article. I'm leaning Leon without any of Inter Miami's attack. And then I like Toluca at home, as always, in that altitude.
So Orlando's your favorite play, though.
Yeah, Orlando and that over are 2 of my top plays tonight. Orlando needs to win. They need to score at least 3+ goals. Right now, they're sitting at 3 points, and they need to get the 6 points. So they need the 3 points.
I told you
their goal differential is at 3, so they need to score at least 3 goals. And then the next tiebreaker is like wins in regulation, so they have to win obviously in regulation, and to have any shot of making it to the top 4.
Okay. Luch, Adam, I did actually forget to ask you boys. Do you guys have any MLB plays? Luch, I'm sure you do. I don't know what I was thinking, going over my hitters and asking. Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. I know we got the Celtics Sixers thing, and you're just kind of glossing over my thoughts here on the show.
I was just excited to get to the Jets in reality. That's what it was.
No, real quick. I dropped it in the chat.
By the way, Ian Rappaport, only a second ago. Deshaun Watson has been named the starter for the first preseason game.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
And Shador is going to start the second game. So he's Munkin is divvying the thing up to start.
He's committed to this coin toss thing. He's committed. Luch, go ahead.
Oh man, it's going to be a rough year for Cleveland. I long term though, like you're saying there's a chance.
There's hope.
Like
there's hope.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
You could be in a worse spot long term. Anyway, just real quick, I like over 8 runs in this Detroit Cleveland game. I dropped it in the chat. 6:40 Eastern first pitch. Foster Griffin, obviously a good year on the surface, due for a little bit of regression. His xERA is up at like 4. Also, Detroit, smallish sample in August. We're 12 days into August now. Detroit leads the league in WRC plus against lefties in the month of August by like a considerable margin. So I think that works out really well. Griffin, a little aggression. Detroit tearing the cover off the baseball against lefties. On the other side, we have Framber Valdez, who just hasn't lived up to that contract, hasn't lived up to the hype. ERA over 4, hasn't been good post All-Star break either. Cleveland has been serviceable against lefties. We know the Guardians do have a good bullpen, so that kind of sucks, but that's probably part of the reason why we're getting this 8 flat number, no hook whatsoever. I always like when you're getting decent odds without a hook on it. So give me the over 8 runs between Detroit and Cleveland. That kicks off in a little over half an hour now.
Oh, yeah. I like that too. There's a hitter I liked in that one. Torkelson feels like he's due for a home run in that one too.
Torkelson, good spot. How about the year Dylan Dingler's having, man? Just unbelievable. So, yeah, they got some righties who can mash, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw 9 runs in this one.
Mm-hmm. Adam, any baseball for you? Any system plays? How are you feeling?
B, I am offended that you would even ask. One is already in. That is the surging Tampa Bay Rays. They were healthy winners 8-4 today against the Athletics. Of course, they were roughly minus 200 favorites, so they simply did what they were supposed to do. So congrats to anyone that played it or took them on the run line, all the better. Right now, sweating out the Padres at plus money, down 2-1 against the Brewers. That is top 7. The other games that have yet to begin, all system plays today. The Marlins at home against the Pirates. The Tigers, who we talked about, at home against the Guardians. Yankees, who we also discussed, at home against the Mariners. Blue Jays against my Red Sox. That is plus money in Toronto for the Jays. And Dodgers, a run line play against Kansas City.
Hell yeah. All right. And then off to the WNBA real quick. I got just a couple of plays there. Nothing. I got one play in that first game. And it's going to be Paige Beckers. She has just been really good. You're going up against one of the worst defenses in the league. And since the All-Star game, the Wings have really been struggling. They have lost 3 of their last 4 games and 5 of their last 6 overall. The All-Star game, the All-Star break, honestly, wasn't kind to them. It seems like they've kind of come out sputtering. And now you're looking at a team that is also going to be without Jessica Shepard tonight. She's been fantastic for this Wings squad. But like I said, this Tempo team has been really, really bad defensively. They are 13th in opponent effective field goal percentage allowed. They are also 15th in points allowed, and they have been bad on the perimeter. I'm just taking Paige to score 23 points straight up, minus 114, and then nothing in that Chicago Sky Golden State Valkyrie game. I do think the Valkyrie get the job done, but they are without Kia Stokes tonight. She's out with a concussion. I'm always a fan of taking her rebounds, but without her, maybe we see a little bit more, because Gabby Williams has also been kind of seeing her minutes cut in half with the FIBA World Cup coming up. But in this Minnesota game, the Lynx are just having so much fun. I think that Kayla McBride is a great bet. Olivia Miles is also a great bet. But Nafisa Collier over 10.5 rebounds and assists. She has really opened up this offense since coming over to the Lynx. She's hit this line in 3 of her last 4 games. The one she didn't was against the Las Vegas Aces. She had 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Obviously, a little bit of a tougher matchup. But the Lynx have been absolutely cruising since the All-Star break, and I think it continues tonight against a Portland Fire team that just really isn't good defensively. You know what I mean? They're a new team, new franchise. I do think that maybe they'll figure it out. Just hasn't been this year. And I think that Collier is really just starting to get comfortable as the World Cup comes around and as the playoffs get closer and closer. So give me the 10.5 RA for her tonight.
SPJ's in the chat shouting out Carleton over 22.5 PRA. Also, his girl Kiki Rice over on the PRA there. Carleton getting support from Austin as well. And yeah, man, that's what we got over there.
W chat. All right, boys. Right. Finally, the moment everybody's been waiting for, right? JETS, Jets.
This should be quick.
Not even an iota of emotion, chat. Not one.
Past the top of the hour, we're still doing that, huh?
My energy drink's just kicking in, Adam. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Well, let's run it through. It's going to be a lot of L's. All right. V, you want to drive this one?
Yeah, why not? Let's talk any word on the Jets from you boys before we get started. I mean, I hate their head coach and the fact that they hired a new DC and OC, didn't fire their head coach is insane. Brand new starting quarterback in Geno Smith, who was terrible in Las Vegas last year.
And the coordinators are the first ones to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not seeing it. This might be another holdover year for the Jets. But boys, what are you guys seeing before we get into the schedule?
I have one thing to say about the Jets, and it's just fantasy football, Garrett Wilson. That's it. That's all I want. I want some shares of Garrett Wilson for fantasy football. He's going to have like 10 targets a game. I mean, there's just there's no one else. I mean, and they're going to be playing from behind. I know that their defense might be a little better than last year, but they ranked at the bottom of almost every single defensive category last season. So, I mean, there's no way to go for them other than up. So, yeah, give me Garrett Wilson for fantasy this year. He should be averaging probably anywhere from 6 to 8 targets a game.
Absolutely. Luch, any thoughts on the Jets before we talk about that week 1 matchup that you're staring at?
Similar thoughts as the Browns. It will probably be ugly this year. I do really like the draft this year. They have 3 picks next year. I love the Sauce Gardner trade. I think the Colts might struggle this year, which, Alec Pierce, who knows what's going on with him, which will help the Jets even more. And they're going to have some cap space next year. You get rid of Aaron Glenn, you bring in someone who can develop a quarterback the right way. And I think there is light at the end of the tunnel sooner than later. I just don't think it's going to be this year. As a Titans fan, and they play week 1, I feel like the Titans are just a slight step ahead of the Jets and the Browns in figuring their shit out. Because they got Cam Ward, who has shown flashes that he could be good enough, and hopefully he's the guy. They got their alpha receiver. They got their Garrett Wilson, hopefully we'll see the Ohio State wide receiver factory. You got a guy who's commanding a locker room with an offensive mind, and Brian Dable, at least for a year, who can really help, expedite this Cam Ward process here. So I know we're probably going to poo-poo on the Jets quite a bit on this schedule, but I do think they're in a good situation as early as next year. I think it's going to be exciting to be a Jets fan. It does kind of stink that Kenyon Sadiq is a little banged up. Some of their young guys are a little banged up. There's been some rumblings that Omar Cooper might get leapfrogged on the depth chart. It's early. Who the hell knows? But I do think we're going to get a really good look at some of these guys. I think David Bailey was probably about as sure thing as you could get. I think he was the right pick for the Jets, who are building for the next, 2 to 5 years, maybe not this year. So I think they're going to get a good look at a lot of these young guys. I don't think Aaron Glenn is the answer. That being said, some guys are just better coordinators. Aaron Glenn was good at his job on defense. Maybe Mike McDaniel will turn into be a dynamite OC, and maybe that's what he does for the rest of his career. I look at Josh McDaniels, who gets paid handsomely in New England. He is extremely good at his job, and whoever the HC is in New England, whether it's Vrabel or whoever comes after him, we'll be very fortunate to have someone like Josh McDaniels, who I think is a better OC, and some guys are just cut for that cloth. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be ugly here, boys, but I think the Jets are in a really interesting spot if we're talking about the future.
All right, let's see if we can find 6 wins. Win total of 5.5, plus 1,900 to win the division, and plus 20,000 to win the Super Bowl. Week 1 against the Titans. Boys, what are we thinking here? Is this a win? Is this a loss? I think it's Titans win, Jets loss. But
I'm giving it to Tennessee.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Quick work of what was maybe one of the wins on the schedule. So this is not going to be pretty. Week 2, Green Bay Packers. I mean, right.
I'm going loss.
Yeah.
Loss 0-2. Yep. Week 3 at the Lions. It doesn't get you play the entire NFC East, or the NFC North right there, back to back. Yeah. Is that just 0-3? Is that 0-3?
0-4.
0-4. God, boys, this is not going to take. Ronan is in the studio absolutely crying his heart out right now.
I think the first win for me is against the Browns.
0-4 start. Yeah, okay. There's a win. 1-4, right? Maybe that protects the starting job for Geno Smith, maybe one more week. And then you got the Patriots. Adam, Patriots, I think this is at Foxborough.
It doesn't matter. Could be all
doesn't matter. Are they going to lose? Are they going? The only team that might beat the division here is the Dolphins once. 1-5. 1-5.
Patriots are going to win both of these games. Come on.
Yeah.
I 2-5 or 2-5. I think they beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, they beat the Dolphins 2-5. Luch, any disagreements?
Are the Raiders home?
The Raiders are this one is in New York.
It's in New York.
They could win that game.
Yeah, that one could be. I could go on either side of that one.
I guess I'm just surprised if I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'm surprised they're 3 wins better than the Cardinals. Although the Cardinals division is pretty much nails. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's where it's coming from.
No
disagreements.
They supposedly have the 5th easiest schedule. The Jets.
I mean, guys, if I'm just eyeing this one, I will give them a split with the Dolphins.
I think they win both. I think they win both.
Let's just say they beat the Dolphins twice, and I'm not even sure that does happen. But let's just say
they lose. I think they lose the rest of the division games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm staring at this schedule, guys, and I can't find 4 wins.
I think I found 3 maximum.
Okay,
3. I got 1 against the Dolphins, 1 against the Raiders, and 1 against the Cardinals potentially. That's it.
I think they beat the Dolphins twice. I think they can beat the Raiders, and I think they can beat the Cardinals. Like that would probably be my 4 wins right there.
I agree.
Horrendous. We've all skipped over the entire schedule, and we're just clocking them at 3 wins now.
Because I mean, honestly, like, what's the point of who they're going to beat and when? Like, it's the exercises. Are they going to hit their over, or are they just overwhelming under? And I don't know how you don't land on the under with the New York Jets. I really don't.
Cardinals game is also on the road in Arizona.
I would consider an alternate under at plus money.
True.
And that's fresh off a Denver loss. Like, they might not even win that Arizona game.
That's true.
I mean,
I'm just pull up.
You have to hate playing the end of the season game. Playing devil's advocate from the beginning of our Minnesota Vikings show. What's the state of the Vikings going to be? Will they have pulled the plug on Kyler Murray at this point? Are the Bills going to be playing anybody in that last game of the year? Or are they just going to rest up everybody as well? That's where it gets dicey. And I do think there's a chance they beat the Titans in the opening week. I don't think so, but there's a lot of, a range of outcomes with the Titans as well. Brand new everything. I will say there's a bit of narrative there last year in Nissan Stadium, and they're honoring Chris Johnson at halftime in that opener in Nashville as well. So I think that crowd will be pretty amped up. But I think opening week is winnable. Don't shoot the messenger, SPJ, but I wouldn't be
winnable.
He's not going to shoot the messenger, Luch. You can just expect a letter in the mail, a strongly worded letter in the mail. Boys, I think that we're well under this line then, right?
They are 3-1 plus 300 at under 3.5 wins.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I feel like they can.
I like it.
They can get at least. I mean, I could see it. I mean,
even if you like 4, that's plus 155.
Yeah. I mean, I like that a little better.
Who squad ride this under? This is right.
I mean, under 5.5 seems like a play for sure.
Jags is
that's like
in New York
170
all season long.
Oh, is it at 170 now?
Something like that.
Shags is also on this under, I think 5.5 wins as well as the Giants win total under. So I mean, this is just bad. You got the Broncos. You got one
you got to play one of the best divisions in the NFL. I mean, you got to play the Bills twice, the Patriots twice. Then you got to go into Denver, into Arizona. You got to play the Chargers, into KC. I mean, yeah, that's tough.
As ugly as the Geno Smith experience can be, he is capable of some random spike games, like 100%. the Joe Milton experience last year. Briefly,
like that Raiders game could be one of those.
It could be revenge game. They're saying the streets are talking. I mean,
it doesn't help that both the Detroit and Chicago games are also are on the road going into that Browns game, which is another one of those winnable games. It's like every winnable game on the schedule is kind of either against a really good team or a little bit of a difficult part in the schedule. You got the Lions and the Bears on the road, then the Browns. Before the Cardinals game, you're going to get beat up by the Broncos.
Any primetime games?
No primetime games, correct?
That's a joke.
No, none.
That's a joke.
Absolutely.
My question is 19-1 to win the AFC East. Who on God's green earth is even betting that?
Jets fans. Jets fans.
No, they're not. It's not nearly a big enough number. I wouldn't even bet them at 45-1.
If Jets fans understood numbers, Lutz, they wouldn't be Jets fans. What are we talking about?
Man, I feel for Jets fans, but
there's just so many 19-1 bets I'd rather make.
Yeah, for sure.
Not even close.
I'm excited for just get through this season, find something else to enjoy through the fall. Go to some Thanksgiving, pumpkin patches with your girl or whatever you got to do. Just take your mind off this year because the offseason is going to be fun. You got money, you got draft picks. It's a great quarterback class.
Focus in on your fantasy football season. You know what I mean? Focus on your fantasy team this season because you know what? I'm sorry to all the Jets fans that are going to watch this or are watching this. We just shit on your team for 10 whole minutes, but Luch sees a bright future. So you can take that away from this conversation. At least Luch sees a bright future with the Jets here. Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that fire sale on defense is going to help them lose some games. And like Adam said, if you end up 7-9 or what is it, 7-10 or 6-11, that's a position you don't want to be in. And it's a position a lot of teams kind of find themselves in sometimes. So under 5.5 may be exactly what everybody in New York wants. So, boys, 3 wins? 3 wins?
3 or 4.
3 wins.
3 wins. All right.
I mean, especially if you think they're splitting with the Dolphins. 3 wins.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, boys. Let's build a parlay. At least we can walk away with one winner. Not the Jets, but one winner. One parlay.
Well, I mean, sounds like Orlando moneyline's got to be in there.
Orlando moneyline.
Any of the baseball system plays that I gave out jive with you guys? I don't remember at this point in time.
Yankees.
We could take the Dodgers on the money line to end the night.
Yeah, Yankees or Dodgers. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we take both Yankees and the Dodgers?
Okay.
And then Luch, what was the over the
Detroit? At that point, you probably
over?
need a W play, right?
Yeah, that was over 8 if you have it.
Let me build this out. All right. Over 8. Yankees on the money line. Dodgers on the money line.
Glad I stayed away from the Diamondbacks trap today. My God. Minus 175, and they're down 6-3.
While V is building some of the baseball news that's making headlines, what are your gentlemen's panic meter on Paul Skeens?
I think it's weird more than anything else. I'm not panicked. I mean, I would have to see it for consecutive seasons. But the fact that it's going to be basically a full season of this, it looks like, unless he has a really strong finish to the year over the last month and a half, whatever it is. But I mean, it's hard to believe that off of what we've seen for the entire. I mean, and it began moment one. Like he had a shit first inning to open up the year, and it's been all the way through of wild inconsistency. The ERA was respectable for a while. I think it was sub 3, but the win-loss record was ugly. Of course, Pittsburgh is not a great team, but now the ERA is climbing, and he's basically just sort of flipped in a lot of people's eyes with Mizorowski, which I think is a little too fast for me. I think the body of work still supports Skeens. Mizorowski, this is still effectively year one as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, I'm not panicked. Again, he's like 24 years old or something. He's not, he's not an old man, but I don't like it. I mean, these are still supposed to be his absolute best years, and it's not been pretty so far this year.
The dip in velocity is scary. The dip in velocity is scary. It hasn't just been a one-off game here. And, I think of some of these other flame-throwing, fireball pitchers. I mean, look, and I hate to even bring it up, but, what's happened to Hunter Green has been terrible the last year and a half too, right? Finally came back, elbow shot again. So I hope they take care of Paul Skeens down the stretch, and they do what they have to do to kind of make sure he's right for the long term.
This is going to revamp that whole conversation about pitchers throwing harder than they ever have before, and kind of what it leads to in terms of long-term outlook on most of these pitchers' careers, because we saw players play late into their careers sometimes a lot earlier, because sometimes finesse and knowing who you're up against was more important than just throwing it as hard and as fast as you can, as many times as you can. So it's an interesting conversation, but I had the same thoughts. I forgot to ask you, boys. Thanks for bringing that up, Luch. You got parlay scrolling at the bottom. Dodgers, money line. Yankees, money line. Orlando FC, money line. And the Tigers, Guardians, over 8, plus 700, boys.
Nothing nice. W, huh?
Yeah, nothing in the W. It's just, I had all these sides. Everything kind of felt good. I don't want to throw a prop in there and mess anything up. I left Luis Garcia and Shohei Ohtani on the shelf too. So
let's just let the variance of Major League Baseball mess it up instead.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Please.
All right. Good stuff. Anything else anybody wants to add an hour and a half into the program?
Great show.
You see any good movies lately?
The Odyssey.
Ted Lasso, new episode of Ted Lasso on tonight.
I caught it last night, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
What am I going to tell you? He goes back to Richmond. And enjoy it. It's a fun. To me, it's way better than the first one. So enjoy.
All right, cool. All right, awesome.
Is Reacher out? I didn't know. Now I'm excited. I didn't know that.
And the Bear. I got to watch the Bear. The new, the final season of the Bear is out.
The fall is boys.
So much stuff. So much good show right now.
Sonny's out today too. Is that a today thing or was that last night? Now I got to look at the old DVR because I still got
3 episodes of Reacher. Oh my god!
Reacher drop today. I don't have that kind of.
Be up all fucking night.
It's Wednesday night. These guys are going to be grinding through tape.
Man's got work to do. Are you kidding me?
Oh man!
Yeah, now I got to see about Sonny. Yeah, Son. I don't know if Sonny's set on the old DVR right now. You sure it's on tonight?
Yeah, Monday. I'm checking his old DVR. Don't ever tell me that Adam isn't a man of class, chat. Look at this.
No, Sonny comes back on Monday. Sonny's Monday.
There you go.
It's the fall, boys. TV's back, right? New seasons are starting. Everything's kind of making its way back. Football's almost here, right? The air's a little bit cooler.
Reacher's what? Prime? Yeah.
Right there, boys. Right there. Right there. And Adam's distracted.
46-minute first episode? All right. Well, let's go do that now. Why not?
All right.
Yeah, all right, for B, for Luch, for BTP, let's go make some money. Let's enjoy the sports tonight. And, much more coming your way across BNN in the days to come. And who knows? You might even see us again, too. We'll see you next time. See you, boys.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? Down in the deep. Now I know we all be loving this shit right here. Rolling. What you gonna do? Rolling. What you gonna do? Down in the rolling. What you gonna do? Right, y'all be loving this shit. What you know about